Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. A couple of days since we finally beat Man City since 2015. It had been a long time. I'm joined by Cozy on this one to talk about a little bit about that game, a little bit about our season so far, and a couple of players who are really, really good. Cozy, how do you feel after that victory of a Man City? Let's not get carried away, right? Let's remember De Bruyne and Haaland didn't play this game, right?
Yeah.
Let me know what you made of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I mean, I'm still over the moon. We've not beaten Manchester City in a very long time. 13 games actually. The 13th game we beat them, right? I'm still over the moon. I'm still very happy. I don't want even to focus on that side of Erling Haaland, Rodri, and Kevin De Bruyne. I'm still very I'm still very happy. I'm still very happy. But in the end, I still think we've got to be focused, level-headed. Injuries are trying to tell us, "Hey guys, calm down. I'm here. I'm trying to keep you in check." But if you're an Arsenal fan out there, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy beating Man City because we're going away at the Etihad. In the next couple of games, that is maybe 20 or 15. It's gonna be something different. So let's enjoy the moment. I'm really, really making the most of it.
For sure, man. It had been a long time. Like, not even in terms of beating them, like even in terms of just scoring. I know last season they beat us 3-1 and then 4-1, but the previous seasons it was 3-0, 5-0, 4-0, 3-0, 3-0. Like we never even scored a goal against them. And I think in terms of clean sheets, we've never really kept a clean sheet against them. So that was another huge positive for us. So before the game, how are you feeling? Were you actually predicting an Arsenal win? I had gone for a 3-3 draw. I thought there would be goals. I'd say this time we're not going to lose because Rodri is not there, De Bruyne is not there. Those are the guys usually do well against us. And I'd felt like, listen, Saka will be there. I thought he would be there. Martinelli could be back, so I predicted a 3-3. When I saw the lineup, I still said, listen, I still believe in every single Arsenal player. This Nketiah, this Jorginho, I'm still going to go for a draw. But how did you feel before the game, and did your feeling change when the team news came out?
Well, I tell you what. Before the game, I was spot on. I thought there were going to be no goals. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring fixture because I thought I really predicted Pep to go narrow, and I predicted him to go very, very conservative, and that's what he actually did. He played as many players in the midfield, very narrow, very compact, and he never wanted Arsenal to get any mistakes out of them. And when I saw the team news, I thought, wow, Mikel has just gone, we're going to match you man to man. So before the game, I thought low scoring, one is going to win this game, and whoever is going to win this game, it's going to be courtesy of a mistake. When the team news came out and I looked at Jorginho, I tell you this, I was afraid. I said, we are going to lose this game and we're going to lose it because, Jorginho is going to make a mistake in midfield. And I was very, very uncomfortable. But it wasn't. I don't think it was. It was Jorginho who actually put us under pressure. It was David Raya and the new role that Mikel gave him in that game. It was all about can he actually pull the opposition and attract them inside, and then create something, right? Create spaces, create passing spaces for our players, which I actually liked as well because it's a new thing we've not done against City. So, like any Arsenal fan, when you're playing Man City, you're nervous, you're scared. I was nervous, I was scared, and I didn't believe we would get a result like a win. I thought maybe a draw, courtesy of Rodri not being there, and I thought maybe Arsenal could actually just, pepper the cracks and get a draw. And then eventually, when we grow into the season and we start playing better and we start playing, a more flexible and an enjoyable system, and everything is clicking, maybe we can predict Arsenal and Man City to have, to be a good game. So, not a good game like we saw, and I didn't expect it to be a good game. I thought it was going to be boring, low scoring, and it was. But I'm surprised that Arsenal won the game. I'm still surprised.
When I saw the team news, obviously I wanted Partey to start. I thought Saka would be there. Obviously, not having those two players, it's a hit. But still, as I said, I still trust in all the Arsenal players. But I saw the Man City one, and I was like, Kovacic and Rico Lewis. If we don't score a couple of goals against Man City today, or at least get a result against them, we'll never pick up a result against them because they don't have Rodri, De Bruyne, and Stones. And obviously they got rid of Gundu and Myers. All those players usually do well against us. I was like, if we don't do it today, we're never going to do it. But as you said, from the first half, it was boring. I didn't actually mind it. Keep it at 0-0, maybe get one chance and score. Raya had a couple of he almost like that one for Alvarez. That was literally almost a goal. But as I said, he's the one who instructed him to play that way. Second half, were you surprised to see Martinelli coming on at halftime? I didn't think he was going to come on that early.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Martin come on, and when I saw him, I didn't actually anticipate that it was kind of that was courtesy of a hamstring to Leandro Trossard. But what actually surprised me is to see Gabriel Martinelli just even on the bench. I didn't expect him to be there. He's a player that had been not training, and Mikel had not given us any update about his fitness levels and all that. And of course, after the game, Mikel said he was pushing to play for that in that game. He was pushing to, come back, and he was not yet there. The medical team told him you're not yet there. The Mikel Arteta told him you're not yet there, but he came. So I was surprised a little bit, and I thought maybe it was because Leandro Trossard was really ineffective when it came to Kyle Walker. Walker is pesty, strong, very intelligent, and very talented as a fullback. And I think his experiences a lot as well. So he needs players that can put him at high pressure. He needs players that can actually keep on thinking, and players that are very creative. I think Trossard is a very good player, but his template ends. I think if he doesn't drift inside, he will try to beat you at the byline. I think that's his game, right? But with Gabriel Martinelli, you have a lot, right? You have a lot to his game. So I thought maybe Mikel thought about this and is like, well, let me bring on Gabriel Martinelli. And then also in the first half, both teams didn't actually have any kind of width. We didn't try to utilize any kind of width. Erling Haaland tried to run, sideways, but it was already cancelled out by William Saliba. And then he had Phil Foden, Lewis, and Alvarez coming in very, very narrow. And, they were very, very narrow. So Man City were not a threat for us. Out wide, but then also as we are not a threat to Manchester City out wide in the first half. So I thought Mikel thought about switching it up a little bit, trying to do what they are not doing, and trying to put some pressure on those fullbacks, especially Nathan Ake, who had scored, almost scored actually. In the first half, and Kyle Walker as well, right? So, and I thought it worked actually. It really did work. When Martinelli comes on, it's a different game. It's a bright game. It's a brighter game. Our transitions are better. We are running. It looks like we're gonna create some chances. When he comes on. So, not surprised to see him on the pitch, but I'm surprised to see him early. And eventually, Mikel breaks the silence that Trossard picked up a hamstring.
So obviously during the midway part of the second half, Pep was preparing 3 subs. For me at that time, I was screaming, "Can we be proactive instead of reactive? Let's not wait for them to make their subs and then score and then make our own subs." So at that time, Pep was making those subs. I was thinking, he actually kind of looks like he's happy with the draw. Were you feeling a different way? Did you think okay, he's bringing on these subs to go for it and win it, or did you think, okay, they're bringing on the likes of Stones, they're happy with the draw?
Well, his substitutions have always been very different, and his substitutions have always impacted games when we played against them. At 1-1 last season, when Bukayo Saka scored the penalty and when we went for halftime, he actually, I think he bring on Grealish and Silva and Bernardo Silva? And that game changes, it absolutely changes, and they go on to win it very, very comfortably. So I actually thought it was the same thing. He thought about Arsenal and how narrow we were, and he understood that you cannot win the game. You literally cannot win the game, by trying to wait for a mistake from Arsenal. So he tried to bring on runners. Jeremy Doku, I thought, he should have started that game, in my opinion, if I was a Man City fan. But he started bring on runners, and then what Stones does and what he did last season. He inverts into midfield like Zinchenko, and he gives you an extra midfielder, and he gives you an extra quality player on the ball, right? So he can be your Lodri at some point in time, and then he can be your Zinchenko at the other point in time. So I thought he brought on players that would impact the game, stay compact, stay disciplined, and stay relatively good on the ball, because that was his strategy. We want to be narrow. We want to be good on the ball. We cannot allow Arsenal to have, the ball. We want to keep it. So I thought Stones, that was the reason. With Jeremy Doku, he wanted to disorganize us, and he wanted to, create that kind of fuss, and I thought Ben White was really good in that game. That is his best performance in an Arsenal jersey. Best performance by far. He absolutely didn't change. Even when Doku switch sides to sides, he doesn't get bothered. He stays as firm, as solid, and as good as he was. So I thought Pep in the second half wanted to go for it a little bit, but he didn't want to exploit himself. He didn't want to expose himself. Bring on John Stones to make sure that you have an extra defender, but also one in midfield, and also bring on Jeremy Doku, a guy that really tracks back very well, but who is electric, can cause problems, and can also create situations by himself. He can drive you from the center line, and go in the penalty area and lay it off for Haaland and lay it off for anyone in the penalty area. So he wanted to win it, but he also still wanted to be secure of a point. And I think that is where he lost it. He either had to go, we are here to win, or we are here for a point. So by staying in the middle, by staying midway, I think that's where he lost it.
Very interesting, because Doku came on first on the right side, and then Arteta brought in Tomiyasu, and then he was moved to the left side. So Tomiyasu was not the only sub to come on. Obviously, came on with Havertz and also Thomas Partey. Were you happy with those specific subs, or were you like,
absolutely?
Because I know some people are not sure about Havertz, and people are like, okay, Tomiyasu, do you really need him? We need to go for it. Why not Smith-Rowe? So people asking, why not Nelson? Then take off Nketiah, take Jesus to the middle. Were you happy with those three subs, all three of them?
Yeah, I was happy with the Thomas Partey one. I was happy with, because Man City had focused on the midfield. They are focusing on the midfield. John Stones is a midfielder. Literally, he's become a midfielder. So they were focusing on increasing their quality in midfield and trying to. Of course, we had overloaded it, but they wanted to expose Jorginho. They wanted to expose the one player that didn't have the legs. As the game grew into a couple of minutes, you've got to expose your opponent's weakest point. So when you bring on Partey, and when he brings on Partey, it just allows Declan Rice, first and foremost, to have a partner he can trust. And literally, it means that he could go anywhere on the pitch because he had backup. He had very, very good backup in Thomas Partey. Takehiro Tomiyasu, when you take off Alexander Zinchenko, you've brought a much better player. And we'll talk about the role he gives him after Jeremy Doku switches, all right? That role, I think it's very, very good. It's genius from Mikel Arteta because it wins the game. But Takehiro Tomiyasu, I wanted him to start this game. I wanted a player that you can trust as well defensively. Zinchenko is lucky because this season he's got Declan Rice, and Rice is very aware. Very aware. He knows where the weakness is. He knows where the space is. He knows he can anticipate where the spaces are gonna open up, and that's what he was doing in that game. He was literally, anticipating this is where they're going to go. And they went there and he picked up the ball from them. This is what they're going to do. And he was absolutely spot on. So Tomiyasu, again, when you bring on Jeremy Doku, you've got to bring on Tomiyasu. Or you've got to bring on Jakub Kiwior. You've got to bring on someone that can stand his ground and is happy to defend. Tomiyasu is happy to defend. Yes, he's beaten at times, but I think Alexander Zinchenko is far too easier to beat as compared to, Tomiyasu. And then lastly, Kai, I think Edin Nketiah was ineffective in this game, like in terms of the offense. Pressing-wise, superb, excellent. And a couple of people told me, why did he play Edin Nketiah for all that long? I think he just wanted someone he can trust as a manager. In games like this, you want a runner you can trust. I think Edin Nketiah is one of the people that go by the words of the manager. When he says, I want you to run for 90 minutes, the guy will run for 90 minutes, as simple as that, the manager has said. So I was happy with Kai, because what Kai literally gave us is something different and a different presence from Eddie. Look at Diaz, look at Givadio, look at Ake, look at, Walker. You've got to find a guy that can win an aerial duel against them. And even if it's about hold up play, I think Kai Havertz is physically much better because he's taller. He can keep the ball away from, Givadio, from Diaz, and his presence is felt much better as compared to, Edin Nketiah. So I thought bringing on Kai Havertz meant that Manchester City had to rethink their defensive shape, especially the rest defense, right? When you're in possession and there's a player like Kai Havertz, it doesn't run in behind, it's all right, but they will try to play that ball into him. And so that's what Arsenal did. They played the ball into Tomiyasu. He heads it into Kai. And this Manchester City defense, all of a sudden, is now worried. They're worried about Kai because he can go long, he can hit the ball, he can hit it first time, and I was surprised that he didn't hit it first time as well when it was headed down to him. So they're all of a sudden they're worried. They're worried about Kai. They're worried about this tall guy that has been introduced in the in the game. So I was happy with them with the substitutions, and I thought they would be impactful. Probably not win the game, but I thought they would be impactful in securing a point, and they did.
Absolutely. So that particular goal, absolutely fantastic that it came from all four of the subs. I know people are saying it is a lucky goal, blah, blah, blah. But if you see the way we created that goal, Thomas Partey in that position, yes, of course, Jorginho can pick out that pass as well. He's very good at passing. But that Partey pass, I looked at Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu, that was not a lucky goal. Tomiyasu actually looked at Partey. He actually looked at where the center backs are, where the central midfielders are, and he was like, okay, wow, there's actually space here. Let me make this one. Partey can pick out this pass. And Havertz himself, when the ball was in the air, he made some space in the the box, just the edge of the box. And Martinelli as well, the moment the ball got to Havertz, he was like looking for space, and he got the space, and he scored the goal. So yes, you have to make the luck sometimes. You have to make your own luck. He got a deflected goal and everything. I was screaming, shoot the ball the entire game. You never know it can hit someone and go in. But that particular goal, absolute gem. Like coming from all four of them, absolutely fantastic. One last point for the attacking players before we come to the absolute genius defensive players. Jesus, I gave him a 7 out of 10 in the ratings, and then I rewatched the game. I was like, no, this is not a 7 out of 10. This is definitely more than that. Do you want specifically to see him in that right side for specific games like this one, or just when Saka is not available? Or would you actually be like, listen, let's rest Saka today and play Jesus on the right side? Would you want to see Jesus on that right side more often, or just when Saka is not available?
Yeah, when you don't have Saka, he's got to play there. He's absolutely good to play there. Now, there are things that Saka does, and the things we get from Saka that you don't get from Gabriel Jesus. But there's so many things you get from Gabriel Jesus as well when he plays there. And I think he loves to play as a number 9. He is a number 9. He wants to be a number 9. But deep down, he knows that his game is more than that. His game is more than goals. It's beyond goals, right? It's one of the players that will satisfy you even when they don't score. And we have seen that on a couple of occasions when he's played on the left-hand side, deputizing Martinelli and Trossard, and he's played on the right-hand side, deputizing Saka. We are satisfied even without scoring goals. I think he's a threat. Like, best pressing forward in Europe, in my opinion, he's an absolute freak he's a pressing monster. He's a freak. He's one of those players that in that game, again, City could say whatever they want. They didn't have Rodri. They didn't have Kevin De Bruyne. But if we don't have Jesus in that game, if you don't have Jesus pressing and pressurizing them and creating those one-time runs, right, busting into space, again, it's a different game. Man City would be more comfortable. So I would love to see him on the right-hand side a little bit more, especially without Saka. I think he's a reliable option to rotate with Saka, like very, very reliable. He's very, very talented. I think there was one moment, like really one moment, where it opened up for him and he could have cut it back for Declan Rice. That was the moment. That was a very good moment. And I think it was from a corner, wasn't it?
Was that the time he was looking for a penalty?
No. It was from a corner. It drops for him, and then as it bounces, he just drifts on his right hand side, and then it just opens up a little bit. Declan Rice is there. You could see the space, but then it goes out for a corner again.
Yeah. Okay. So he was fantastic on that.
Yeah, he was fantastic. So I'm like, he's one of those players that can create those situations. And he's got the ability on the ball, like maximum ability on the ball. There's no question about that. So I'm not even really worried about Saka not even being available for games like Chelsea. I'm not worried, right? I think he can do the job. Why I want Saka to be on the pitch is obviously the reasons are very clear. Best player, best effective player. We have 5 goals, 5 assists already in 10 games, and obviously, when you have Jesus and Saka, it's different.
Attacking wise, we obviously weren't incredible. Man City weren't incredible. We didn't create that many chances, but in games like this, you get one chance, you need to score it. You get two chances, you need to put them on target, and that's what Nketiah didn't do with his chance in the first half. But defensively, I don't think we have any complaints. Now, me and Kozi started supporting Arsenal around the same time. Just like after the Invincibles and just before like Emirates era and stuff, and we've seen some really terrible defenders, some good ones and some really terrible ones. We've had a time where the goalkeeper is good, but the defenders are poor. We've had a time where Clichy and Sanya are very good, but the centre backs are like Skulachi and Senderos not very good. We've had a time where the centre backs Koscielny and Vermaelen are good, and then you look at the full backs, no good. A couple of seasons ago, we had Ben White and Gabriel at centre back, or last season you had or before Gabriel and White at centre back. They were very good. But obviously, the fullbacks, you aren't really sure about them. Tierney was good, but the right side, sometimes he played Niles, sometimes he played Bellerin, not really sure. Now that White has moved to the right side, I feel like our centre backs trust our right back and they trust our left back and they definitely trust themselves. How good were these guys over the weekend? Because like Gabriel and Saliba, like, oh my goodness. The ways I actually do genuinely think Saliba is right. Like, I think if he was fit last season, we'd have won the title. I think that is one of the main reasons we were conceding a bunch of goals. But the way Saliba handled Haaland, the way Gabriel was putting in the tackles and the blocks, just like they did against Bournemouth in the last game, absolutely incredible. What did you think of both their performances? And do you actually feel safe whenever they're there? Or whenever they're not there, you're like, I'm not really sure.
Fantastic. It was world class. That's the word. There is no other explanation. There's no other description of that performance. I don't think there is a centre-back pairing that has impressed me more. Me more this campaign than those two. I don't think there is. The communication, the level of communication, the level of understanding of each other, and the roles and how they execute them, class, pure class. Whoever is coaching these guys needs massive credit. Now, there've been some good names in the Premier League so far. Joachim Andersen has been like totally over the moon. I like the guy. He's been so good. I would say Max Kilman at Wolverhampton Wanderers has been good, and Craig Dawson. But when you talk about pairs, when you talk about defensive solidity and pairs, they have been really good. In that game, Man City had one shot on target, 4 shots in the whole game, right? One was an Alvarez shot that really shouldn't count as a shot because it went like skydiving way up. That shouldn't count as a shot. So they had 3 shots in the game. And they understood the assignment. The assignment is easy. Man City will try to find Erling Haaland. So you've got to eliminate him. As simple as that, right? You've got to eliminate him. But it's one of the hardest jobs to do in the business of a centre-back right now in Europe. You can deal with Lewandowski because he's older and the pace is going down. You can deal with Ronaldo and Messi probably if you can. But Erling Haaland, tall, speedy, quick, he's a talented finisher, and he's a player with a lot of confidence. He's played 50 goals last campaign and scored 50 goals, right? So that's a hard player to go against. And again, against a Manchester City side that have beaten us all the time. It's about, because what we do as Arsenal, we try to source goals from everywhere. That is a template Manchester City have borrowed us. That's what they do, right? The Haaland will score 8 in 8, but Alvarez has scored for them this campaign before already. Jeremy Doku has scored for them. Literally, anyone can score for Man City, and you've got to have your assignments ready, and you've got to do your assignments very well. They've done it very well. Now, I really like what Gary Neville said, and I'll replicate it here. If Arsenal lose that centre-back pairing, they don't win the title. Last season, it was Saliba, and massively we dropped off. Obviously, I think Rob Holding, you can't blame Rob Holding. You cannot step in the shoes of William Saliba. You just can't. I mean, this guy he's a cheat code. I mean, how many players have gone against Erling Haaland and they can anticipate where he's gonna do, what he's gonna do? They can anticipate the space. They can anticipate the speed. They can know how to disconnect the service and how to deal with Erling Haaland as a person as well, 1v1. There are very few centre backs. So for me, again, it's a clear message to Mikel. At the beginning of the season, he dropped Gabriel for reasons I've not yet understood, really, because he said the player knows why he's not playing. But it's a clear message that you've got to play your best team. Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, the best three, Alexander Zinchenko on the left. That's your best four. And in goal, one of your best goalkeepers. If we can get to know who's our best goalkeeper at the moment, then you play your best goalkeeper. Phenomenal stuff, guys. Phenomenal stuff. I cannot believe that Arsenal have a good back four. I cannot believe it. I can't believe that we're talking about a completely full back four. Not even Barca have this. Not even Madrid have this. Not even Bayern have this. There is no team in the world right now, apart from Man City probably and Arsenal, that would boast of having a complete set of 4 players that do their assignments right, get the jobs right, and consistently for 8 consecutive games, 10 consecutive games, right? It's phenomenal. I'm really contented.
The balance is absolutely perfect. Like the way I like the communication. You always see Saliba and Ben White talking, Saliba and Gabriel talking. They both have pace. There's a time he had Koscielny and Mertesacker. One has pace, one doesn't. And you're absolutely spot on. Like I think the last time he had 4 good defenders, we have to go back to Lauren, Ashley Cole, Campbell and Toure, like the invincible back four. And then before that, the likes of Tony Adams. We never had like 4 proper defenders at the same time. No. It's always like Vermaelen, he's injured, and then we have to bring on someone else. Like we've never had a proper back four like this. And we have to, like, the safety, I feel with these guys, they're absolutely amazing. Speaking of safety, you've just mentioned that it's not only Haaland who scores, sometimes the midfielder scores well. So if Gabriel and Saliba are dealing with the forward player, so there has to be someone dealing with the midfielders. And what did you make of Rice in this match? Like, are you happy with him playing in that number 8 role? For me, I wanted him to play there. Obviously, I wanted Partey to play in the 6. I thought, listen, if Man City have the ball in their own half, we can actually have Rice making those interceptions and tackles in their own half, and you can create many chances from that. The performance was incredible. Like I watched the game, I was like, this guy has been stunning. And then I looked at the stats, like interceptions, like 3 or 4 tackles, like blocked shots. He cleared the ball off the line from one of those shots on target you mentioned very early in the game. And it's not only that, even the passes. I think he made like 2 key passes going forward. The Martinelli shot that he had right after coming on, our first shot on target, it was from a Declan Rice pass. Absolutely perfect throughout the game. The impact is had at Arsenal, because do you think is one of the best signings this transfer window? I know Bellingham is up there, he's done incredible, but do you think Rice is like second on that list?
I tell you what, I tell you this. Rice, for me, at the moment, is the best signing in Europe. He's the best signing in Europe. He's been the best new addition to a team that needed what he provided, and they did have it before. And I've said it before on the on my channel as well. Look, in Jude Bellingham, you have a player who's scoring goals, right? But then you've got to ask a question: if Jude wasn't scoring these goals, and could Madrid find a way? They could find a way. There's no question about that. They could find a way. He's been phenomenal. I'm not trying to write him down. He's been absolutely phenomenal. The guy is a joke. And the new role that Ancelotti has created for him, he's being compared to Kaka. Madness. Pure madness. But I think what Arsenal didn't have, and what you saw last campaign a lot, is when the ball bypassed Partey, it literally ended up on the left-hand side where the Zinchenko is, and it ended up in the back of the net. And Mikel was very, very spot on when he signed him. He said, I wanted a player that has the ability, the engine, and the speed to cover for the midfield, the 2 midfielders, left 8 and left right. 8 on the right on the 8 on the right hand side, and then also a player who can track back when that phase of play has gone beyond him. He can run beyond and get the ball back. That I think it was it was one of the tackles he made. I don't remember who was running with the ball. It was close to the penalty area, and he just comes back from behind and he scoops it back, like he scoops it back from behind, like. He's so good at that. He's very good at that. And for me, he's done so many things that Partey doesn't have in his game. And he's done so many things that we didn't have last campaign. I think Partey is phenomenal. Defensively, physical, and his passing range. class. I think Rice has got to work on his passing range. Partey has a very classy passing range. But when you think about the overall ability, he has a Xhaka and a Partey in one, and you've placed him in the midfield. He's been very, very good. Now, in that game, I really kind of pitied Manchester City and the Manchester City players. Because one, physically, Bernardo Silva is not to compare with Declan Rice. Lewis is not to compare with Declan Rice. Phil Foden is not to compare with Declan Rice. And even Kovacic, who I thought should have had a red card like earlier on, is not one player you would physically go, well, he will match out Declan Rice. He will put him out of the game, physically. So they had a tower of a man they were looking at, and the guy was everywhere. So he was chasing them down, and they couldn't chase him when he was in position, right? So again, it was one thing they would go, we miss Lodri. Lodri could have maybe hunted, Rice down, okay? But in that game, Manchester City have now been given another challenge. When they play for Arsenal, they've got to prepare for Martinelli. They've got to prepare for Saka, which they did very well last season. They put them out of the game very well. But now they've got to deal with the presence of Declan Rice in midfield, right? How do we stop him from being the metronome? Because when he is in possession, he's so comfortable. He allows other players to, exploit spaces, right? Because they trust him. When he's in possession, I can go. I can make a run. He will find me, and he will not lose the ball as well. So that performance for me, guys, is if he keeps on playing like that, and our centre backs play like that, right? Because he allows Alexander Zinchenko to be the best of himself. Zinchenko is not one player that wants to be worried about defending. He wants to be worried about what happens in the other penalty area. How can we impact the other penalty area, the opposition? And in most of the games, what we've seen is Rice going a little bit deep and allowing, Zinchenko ahead of himself. And he's been very free, and he's done a lot of good work. But I would love to see him there more. But my problem as well, I spoke about this in the summer, is when you play him in that position and you bring in Thomas Partey, it affects the number of chances we'll be creating, unless he can massively impact on, improve on his game. And we know Mikel can do that. He's done that with Xhaka. Xhaka assisted 7 times, like literally last season. It was unheard of, and he scored 7 times as well. So if Mikel can work on his game, make him that kind of hybrid, Frank Lampard, Gerrard kind of style, defensively chases you down, offensively he's a threat. This guy could. We talk about Ballon d'Or winners, but with this English national team and what they have in terms of talent, if they could win any major trophy, and Arsenal are arriving in that period where we can win major trophies, we might find ourselves having a Ballon d'Or podium maker in Rice.
I actually do think he's very good at attacking, but you just haven't seen it yet, because at West Ham he had to do a lot of defensive work, and at Arsenal, even at Arsenal, like every game he actually creates chances. Like, for example, if you go back to the second game of the season against Crystal Palace, where Nketiah got a one-on-one chance and tried to loop the goalkeeper, that was from a Declan Rice pass. Against Nottingham Forest, I think he had like 4 or 5 shots in the box. Yesterday, over the weekend, he passed the ball to Martinelli as well for that. Like, I'm sure he's very good at attacking. I've also had him talk about it. Like, there's a video on the England YouTube channel where they're talking with Bellingham and Maddison and Rashford, rating their FIFA cards or something. And I had Maddison saying, wow, they've actually rated your shooting very low. Maybe it's because you don't shoot a lot in the game, but we've seen you in training and we know how good you are. And that comes from his teammate. Like, he's very good at shooting and passing and in the final third. But I'm guessing we'll get to see it throughout the season. So would you want to see the Partey Rice combination more often, or do you want it to be like rotating and then in the big games, Rice and Partey?
I would still prefer Rice, Odegaard, and either Kai or Vieira, because it's the long-term strategy. It's the long-term. It's the long-term picture. I think eventually Thomas Partey is going to drop off. If it's not the injuries, it will be the age bracket where Arsenal are like, we cannot give you a 3-year contract. You're now 32, and Partey's like, I want 3 years. That those kind of stuff, and then Partey leaves. So I still want to see Rice owning that midfield. I still want to see him owning that midfield, and I'm still waiting for a run of games where he's playing with Martin Odegaard, and Martin Odegaard is the much better player. One thing people actually have not seen is that because Partey is a metronome, and Partey is more like the Lodri kind of player. He's very, very selfless. Partey literally doesn't dribble. So when he gets the ball, he quickly releases it into the channel. That's why the likes of Odegaard were very, very good last campaign. So I want to see Declan Rice form a very good partnership with the two number 8s in front of him. I want to see Arsenal, because we know Rice is very good. He's very good. But how do we utilize him to make the two players ahead of him even much better? I think Odegaard should be thinking about 20 goals this campaign, because he had 15 last campaign, right? He should be thinking about 3 more or 5 more. I think the Fabio Vieira one and Kai Havertz one is a difficult one. We have not yet settled in on one. But if it's Vieira, I want to see him go.
Smith-Rowe?
I mean, maybe Trossard as well, because Trossard had a very good preseason when he played there. So I want to see a player that I want to see a midfield that is predictable. I still want to see a predictable midfield, right? And a predictable midfield that gives us results. Last campaign it was Xhaka, Partey, Odegaard. Results were there, and the consistency were there, and it was predictable. You know who would start. You know what's going to start, and you are happy with them. So I still want to see him, Odegaard, and Fabio Vieira or Kai. There's a reason why Vieira and Kai are playing in the position for creativity and for goals as well.
Would you do that for the Chelsea game?
Not really. Chelsea, Partey, Rice, Odegaard.
Okay, I hear you. Because after that, you have a Champions League game, and I was thinking about it. I was like, in the Champions League one, because Sevilla are very good at their place, they've actually just appointed a new coach. So you all know about the managerial bounce. I was thinking maybe start Rice Partey for that Chelsea one, and then maybe start Rice and Partey again for the Sevilla one, or would you start Rice and then have two players?
Actually, for the rest of this month, I would be okay if he played Rice, Partey, Odegaard. I'll be very, very fine. Yeah, because the fixtures, the home and away fixtures against Sevilla are very crucial, really crucial. Yeah, and then the Chelsea one, you've got to win. You've got to win those ones. Chelsea are just coming back. You don't expect them to be full of confidence. You've got to wash them out of the way. Yeah,
there's games after that there where you can play the likes of Trossard and Smith-Rowe and Jorginho, because you're going to have Sheffield United at home. You're going to have West Ham in the Carabao Cup. I think you're going to have Luton, Wolves in November there as well, like we're coming up. So very interesting. So last topic, I want us to compare two things, last season and this season, in terms of the fixtures that we've played, the first 8 fixtures, and also in terms of the teams that we've played this season to when we played them last season. So I've written them a couple of things down. But first up, let me ask you this question. Do you think we are better than last season? Do you think we're the same, or do you think we are kind of worse off? Because I've seen a lot of people talking about that, like, okay, we're not playing like last season, we're doing this, we're doing that. How do you personally feel? Do you think we are the same? Are you worried that you're not playing as fluidly as last season, or fluidly as last season, or how do you feel?
Well, test of the eye, when it comes to the eye test, we are not better than last season. It's not even a contest. Yeah. Last season, you could enjoy the Arsenal games. You could. It was fluid. Xhaka dropping a little bit deeper, and Odegaard pressing from the high, and then it ends up Odegaard, deep, and Xhaka farther away. It was fantastic. Yeah. You could see the patterns. It's very different, and it's very different because to win the league, you are not. It's not about the emotions. It's about business. It's business. This season, we are much better. We are really much better in terms of business, in terms of going. We need a clean sheet, and we will get it. We have a 1-0 lead, and we will protect it. We are much, much better. I've seen this Arsenal side. Now, I will blame us for dropping points against Tottenham and Fulham. We can't do that. We shouldn't do that, right? In games that we are leading, right? We led both games at the Emirates Stadium. We shouldn't do that. But the difference this season is you can see Arsenal are dying not to lose. We're dying. If we cannot win it, we will not lose it. Right? Yeah, that's the philosophy. And I think what we have seen from the first 8 games is an Arsenal side winning games in uncomfortable situations. Nottingham Forest, uncomfortable. It became uncomfortable, really. Crystal Palace, 1-0. I don't think we were really the best side, and that was not the best version of Arsenal.
Down to 10 men.
Down to 10 men as well. as well. So, and against Manchester United, right? Man United literally grew in the game, and Arsenal kind of, just said, we're gonna cool it down. We don't have an option of losing this game, right? We don't want to lose this game. So I think we are better in terms of business. We are better in terms of being a Premier League side chasing the title. We are much better. It's not emotional. It's not about. Last season, I was looking at one of the goals we conceded. Zinchenko giving away the ball in the middle of the park, and Aston Villa just ran, and Watkins, scores easy, like really easy. I'm not seeing that a lot, right? It's kind of gone. And also, Mikel has concentrated on our defensive shape and in possession. I think Man City. It's Man City. It's Man City. It's the only team that has had more possession than us in the Premier League at the end of the 90 minutes. So it is not as fluid. It is not as penetrating. But what we are doing is we're making sure that we are in position, right? We keep the ball better. We look after the ball better. I think that is how you win the league. That is how Man City do it, right? Because we're not Manchester City fans, that's what they do. Because we're not their fans, we go, oh, Man City are very good, right? Look at their football. But literally all they do is they keep the ball better. They take care of it, right? They pass it around. They don't take long shots. They don't just cross the ball into the penalty area to lose possession. So they will always keep the ball. And there's so many games that they win 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, right? And because we are not Man City fans, we go, well, they play interesting football. But when you ask a Manchester City fan, at times it is frustrating because Man City will have to break teams down in the 70th minute, 80th minute with chunks and chunks of possession. So I think we are doing the right things, right? Maybe the eye test will come. Maybe the good football will eventually, come. But at the moment, I think we are on the right road and we are much better, in terms of maturity and in terms of, doing what you've got to do.
So if you take a look at the first 8 games this season and the first 8 games last season, actually it's almost similar because we played Crystal Palace away last season. We played them already this season away. We played Fulham at home in the first 8 games. We've played them as well. We played Tottenham. We've played them as well. We played Man United last season. We've played them. We actually played Bournemouth away in the first 8 games last season. We've also played them this season. So last season in the first 8 games, we picked up 21 points. This season we've picked up 20. So 1 less point. In terms of goals, we scored 20 goals last season. We've scored 16 this season, so 4 less goals. But in terms of goals against, we had considered 8 goals by now, and we've now considered 6 goals this season. We had kept 3 clean sheets in the first 8 games. We've now kept 4. So defensively, in terms of controlling the game and not conceding that many goals, although it looks like we conceded a lot at home. Yes, we conceded 2 against Tottenham, 2 against Fulham. But if you look at the goals that we've conceded, we basically gifted Fulham the first goal. Saka gave them the ball. The second one as well should never even really have been a corner. Zinchenko gave away. Against Man United, the goal that we conceded from a Havertz mistake. Against Tottenham, the Jorginho mistake. So if you look at all that, if you cut off the mistakes, we literally would have considered like 1 goal the whole season. So in terms of controlling clean sheets, you are very right. We have controlled it. Now, if you compare these specific 8 games to how we played them last season, these specific games like Fulham at home, Man United at home, last season, we picked up 18 points from these fixtures. Like we beat Nottingham, we beat Palace, we beat Fulham, we beat Man United, but we lost to Everton. We lost to Man City. We also beat Tottenham and Bournemouth. So we picked up 18 points last season. This season, we've picked up 20 points from those fixtures. Obviously, we now drew to Fulham and Tottenham. We lost 4 points there, but we finally beat Man City and finally beat Everton, games that we lost last season at home and away at Everton. So in terms of comparing those fixtures, we've picked up 2 more points. And in terms of just the first 8 games, we've picked up 1 less point. So do you think we could beat last season's tally, or do you think we could end up the same as of now?
Well, the thing I said with my predictions, and I'm not going to change it, I said Arsenal had 85 points last campaign. We will get to 90.
90, wow.
For me, there's no question about that. Whether 90 is enough to win it, that is at the end. But we will get to 90. Right? We will get to 90. And why we will get to 90 is this. Well, people perceive everyone to be good. I don't think every team has become better. I don't think every team is as good as we are. And many people have predicted us out of the top 4. with the mentality that Chelsea are definitely coming back and Liverpool are definitely coming back as well. What they have forgotten and what they have not seen is this: none of the three relegated teams or promoted teams last campaign was bad. All of them were really good. Nottingham Forest beat us. Fulham were like really good, like exceptionally very good. And Bournemouth, we beat them both games, but we can tell the story. We are the only ones who can tell the story. Exactly.
The second one, right? Nelson last minute goal.
Yes. Now this season, I think Arsenal will pick maximum points from all the three promoted sides. With all due respect, Luton, Sheffield, and Burnley, maximum points. I also think that in terms of Tottenham, in terms of Chelsea, in terms of Man United, in terms of all these other clubs, Brighton and Aston Villa, you have clubs, including Newcastle. You have clubs that are now playing more games as compared, and you have clubs that are now looking at divided attention. Brighton last campaign, they focused on one thing. Newcastle last campaign focused on one thing. Aston Villa last campaign focused on one thing. It's different, right? It's very, very different. And Aston Villa are really struggling in the conference. They've won the last game, but in the 97th minute, something like that, they lost the first game or probably drew. So it's different. Brighton, you can see Brighton are losing their legs. Courtesy of playing every Thursday and Sunday, right? Newcastle, they've done well, but you've got to ask the question. They have picked up 4 points so far. For the Champions League, that is not enough, right? They can easily lose their next two games, and it's under pressure, right? And even if they don't, by playing the group stages of the Champions League, there is some burnout is already there, right? And for us, we have just made our squad a little bit bigger. I think we have about 6 quality players we can, interchange, bring on. It's a much better side. It's really a much better side. So I think the things that beat us last campaign as well, maturity. Experience doesn't make you younger. It makes older. Older makes you more experienced as well. And I also think that when you think about the general picture, the hunger of Manchester City and the hunger of Arsenal right now, I think we are hungrier. Yeah, I think we're hungry. I think we're in regret, and we are going to do whatever it takes. So for me, 90 points, we'll get there. Whether Man City can get to 91 and beat us by that, or they can get to 96, that's their business. But I'm really sure Arsenal will get to 90 points.
Good points, absolutely good points. I do 100% agree with that. Personally, I've not sat down and been like, we are worse than last season. No, like I'm looking at our squad, I'm like, listen, last season on the bench, we had Holding and Lokonga for the first half of this season and players like that on the bench. This season, I'm like, when Saka gets fit and after the international break, we could have a scenario where on the bench we have Havertz, we have Trossard, we have Nketiah, we have Kiwior, we have Tomiyasu, there's Partey or Jorginho, both of them, and then the experience of the likes of Cedric if needed. There's Ramsdale or on the bench. Like I'm looking at our squad, I'm like, hey, even we can actually afford to take off Saliba and play Ben White at centre back. We can take off Zinchenko and play Tomiyasu. I don't mind whether Vieira starts or Havertz starts or Nketiah starts or Jesus starts. I think we have a better squad. Obviously, in terms of performances, attacking wise and creating 20 chances per game, we've not really done that, but I still feel like, as you said, we control the game better. We have more possession. We don't lose. If you don't win, don't lose the game. That's kind of the approach as well we took against Man City. So hopefully, after the international break, Chelsea and Sheffield United, the next Premier League games, we can win them. But last 2 points on the Champions League and the Carabao Cup. I predicted Arsenal to win the Premier League and the Carabao Cup. Man City are now out of the Carabao Cup. We have a tough fixture away at West Ham, and their second team has the likes of Kudus, so it's going to be tough. Are you looking at that Carabao Cup like we have to win this one? Even if they are calling it a small cup, we have to start somewhere. I want the likes of Saliba and all those players to win something to begin with. Do you look at that trophy like, hey, we need to win this one?
Yeah. I said it last season that the Europa League was our golden trophy, and we just gave it away at the Emirates Stadium. We gave it away. Well, I'm a bit like Laurie, the Chelsea guy. Silverware for me means everything. Silverware means you've won something. It's a symbol. Like you've symbolized your performances with something. That this is at the end, we are the champions of this, right? Because whatever you win, you become you become defending champions. Look at how Erik ten Hag literally is cashing in on the goodwill of the Carabao Cup, right? Everyone has said, well, Mikel Arteta has flopped, right? Mikel Arteta in the manager of the season debates was nowhere to be seen. Why? Because apparently Erik ten Hag had won silverware. It was no longer the Carabao Cup; it's now silverware, and finished in the Champions League places. So he was much better than Mikel Arteta, right? But how many clubs have gone 248 days on top of Man City? How many clubs did that? How many clubs have ever done that, right? So for me, you've got to go and win these silverware, these small silverware, titles. They bring confidence, but they also make you feel you can do it, right? And for a final, when I was watching Manchester United Newcastle, it didn't feel like I was watching a Carabao Cup final. It felt like I was watching a match that had a trophy at the end, and I was a neutral, not a Man United fan. I wasn't a neutral. I wanted Man United to lose, but but I could feel the intensity, right? If you cannot win the Carabao Cup, chances are that you will fumble the Champions League final or semi-finals. I want to say that the pressure at Wembley when you're playing the Carabao Cup final is the same pressure when you're playing the last leg of the semi-finals of the Champions League. The second leg. Yeah, it's the same pressure, right? So can you deal with it? And Mikel has no excuse for me now. The teams that are still in, you could get past them, right? Yeah. If Liverpool beat us at the end, we'll say, well, Liverpool have been there before, and they've done it, so well done. But West Ham, we should do whatever it takes. We can't do whatever it takes. Our second 11 has something like 7 quality players, from goalkeeper Ramsdale, Jakub Kivio, Tomiyasu, Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Edin Ketia, Thomas Partey, Jorginho. We can do it. We can go and pick up
so many.
Actually, our second 11 this campaign, at some point in time, is better than some of the 11s Arsene Wenger had, to be honest.
Yeah, very, very true, very true. And the likes of Trossard as well are there, and you can even add some. You can add someone like Gabriel.
We also have the option of playing, of introducing Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli in the 70th minute, in the 75th minute, right? Just to see it through.
Players like Martinelli, he's missed 6 games. He can even start that Carabao Cup game. Gabriel didn't play the first 4 games of the Premier League. He can start in that one. So I was looking at our squad. I was like, we have to at least get to the final of this and win it. Champions League, though, the last one. Champions League. We've lost to Lens. I didn't expect us to lose to Lens at all. I thought, listen, let's beat Lens and then win all 3 home games and then go to Sevilla and PSV. We might lose one, hopefully draw one. So I was actually predicting 4 wins, a draw, and a loss. I didn't expect us to win all 6 games, but I didn't think that loss would be to Lens. So remember, we were lucky that PSV and Sevilla drew. So if you go to Sevilla and lose, then you're in big trouble. So how do you feel about the Champions League? Do you think we have to go there and win, or go there and just don't lose and then bring them back at home and beat them?
Well, for the Champions League, the previous results determines what you need in the next one. Yeah, it's not a marathon. It's not a marathon. It's a short, quick race. I think losing to Lens in France guarantees us that, or requires us to go 6 points against Sevilla. Yeah, it requires us to, because one, when you don't win in Sevilla, when you don't win in Spain, that means that you've given Lens and PSV, a chance to go above you, right?
Yeah.
And when we play that game against PSV and they're above us, they have a reason, like a real reason, to just get a point in it.
Yeah.
Just go get a point, and the rest will sort it out. Itself. So Sevilla, I had predicted Arsenal and Sevilla to go through. Looks like Sevilla this campaign have not really started off very well. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the Europa League, right?
They've changed the manager.
Between Arsenal, Lens, and PSV. Lens are kind of the surprise element in the group, but we've always had those stories, right? Surprise elements. They've always been there. So we have made our group the group of death. We've just made it the group of death. It wasn't, initially. Yeah, we've just made it the group of death. So for me, go and beat Sevilla home and away, and then when you go to PSV, I think we got to PSV after that, right?
No, in the last game. The fifth game is Lens at home.
So we've got to beat Sevilla home and away. That is 6 points, and that will take us to 9, right?
Yeah.
And then we have to beat Lens at home. That will take us to 12. Because last season when we went to, right?
I think that will be job done if you win those 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. It will be job done. And the Netherlands is not a place you want to go to desperate. Yeah, you don't want to go there desperate.
I was hoping we'd have gone through by the time we face PSV. So
exactly.
If it can go disastrous. Yeah.
Last season we didn't win there. We did not.
Yeah, we lost comfortably. It could have been like 4 or 5 games. So
it could have been a 5. Yeah.
Away at Sevilla, we have to not to lose, because if we go to Sevilla and lose, we'll actually be bottom, because if PSV beat Lens, all 3 teams will be ahead of us, and it will be catastrophic because the pressure at home against Sevilla, they can just come to park the bus. Lens can just come to park the bus. So if you go to Sevilla and win, you're back on track, because the next 2 games are home at to Sevilla and Lens. So hopefully we go through top of the table, because obviously if you finish second, you could end up facing Real Madrid, end up facing Barcelona, all those teams. But hopefully we do finish top of the group. Let's hope things go well now that we have Saka will probably play. Martinelli's back. Martinelli hasn't played a Champions League game for us yet, so let's hope it goes well. But that's a video with Cozy. We've talked about the Man City game, talked about Gabriel, Saliba, Rice as well, the midfield, Jesus on the right side. What do you guys make of all that? Do you think we are better this season than last season? Let us know in the comments section. I will be on Cozy's channel later on. His link is in the description, so make sure to click on that. I'll also put it in the title, so make sure to click that and watch that video later. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.